Let's talk about how to write longer scenes. On the screen, you'll see one of my books, Wicker Hollow. We're going to go inside and read a little bit of it because I think this is a good example of how to write longer scenes. First of all, this is chapter one, and that's a very short chapter. It's less than one page, and it covers just this fall out of heaven of one of the main characters in the story, this angel. Without giving any spoilers away, I wanted to show you that this is a very short chapter. And a lot of my chapters are also pretty short, but I do want to show you how to make longer chapters. And we'll use some of the examples here from my book. If you want to write a longer scene, there's a couple ways you can go about it. First of all, you can just introduce a subplot, and you can weave at least the beginning of the subplot into that scene, and that'll naturally make it longer. You can also deepen character development. So if you want to develop a scene, extend it a little bit, you can take a character like Landon Paddock here in my story, and you can dive deeper into character development within this scene or each scene. In this particular scene, Landon is just waking up. There's a bright light outside of his window. You learn a little bit about him as we go through the scene. And you also learn that he's got a great grandfather who was in Vietnam. You kind of know he's on a farm in this big house by himself. There's a shadow. He starts thinking about aliens and ghosts, and thinks about his neighbors, Frank and Gina, down the road. So you're learning a little bit about him at a time. But if I wanted to make this scene even longer, I would certainly add some more character development. I would go more into his backstory. I could even enhance the setting. I could talk more about the bedroom, the big house, the farm, the city that he's in. I can start describing vividly the environment. For example, I could say things like the soft glow of sunset, or the haunting echo in an abandoned hall, or even the cacophony of a bustling market. Each one of these descriptions can not only provide a sensory experience for the reader, but also extend the scene. I can also use dialogue. The more dialogue there is in a scene, the longer it will be. So if there's interesting banter that moves the plot forward, that reveals more things about the characters, it can also extend the scene. So you can use setting details, you can use dialogue, you can actually introduce flashbacks. I do this in several of my stories, not just Wicker Hollow. Wicker Hollow also has some flashbacks threaded through the entire narrative, and you can actually weave an entire flashback into a scene or just small snippets of the flashback. So it's just another tool in your toolbox to make your scenes longer. One of my favorite ways to make scenes longer is to create tension and conflict. Is just add different layers of conflict. That can be internal conflict, external conflict. It can be self-imposed conflict, whether that's internal or external. In this chapter here that we're looking at in Wicker Hollow, um, there's several times that something happens that hopefully adds to the tension. It starts with the yellow light flashing through the windows. It wakes Landon up and starts to smell burnt air. There's a storm raging outside. There's even along the way, a couple paragraphs later, there's a giant shadow that comes across the room. All of these different elements bring more tension and conflict to this story, and also, as a byproduct, it makes the scene longer. So something related is if you do reversals. So if there's two characters in a scene, or even one character that's trying to reach a goal, each time they get closer to the goal, that's one type of reversal, success, and the other type of reversal is failure. So in the middle of a scene, if you can have more moments of where it looks like the character will succeed and more moments where it looks like the character will fail, those are reversals. Each time you create a reversal in a story, For example, if two characters in a fight at different times during the scene, one of the two characters can seem like they're going to win this fight. And if you have more, like 2 or 3 of those in a scene, that makes for a longer scene. So create tension, conflict, add reversals. Of course, you can play with pacing as well. So you can slow things down, write longer, more flowing sentences with a more detail. In this chapter that we're looking at as an example, I introduced 2 characters in this scene, and that's Frank and Gina. That I'm introducing them by way of a phone call, but I do introduce them, and that allows for more dialogue. It adds for more time on page, and therefore it's a longer scene. You can use inner monologues. You can use symbolism and foreshadowing to lengthen your scenes. You can start to incorporate cultural and historical details. You can even experiment with scene structure. For example, you can break conventions. You can use a nonlinear timeline. You can intercut between different events, and that can naturally make a scene longer. You can do some world building. So, world building isn't just for fantasy genres or science fiction. Every story has its universe, its customs, its traditions, its rules. And the more that you explore those aspects, the more you extend and enrich a scene. You can add moments of reflection or self reflection in the middle of an action scene to make it longer. You can also use contrasts and comparisons. For example, you can juxtapose characters, settings, or emotion. Let's imagine you're drafting a novel and you want to contrast a lavish party against your protagonist's memories of a past childhood filled with hunger and want. That contrast between past and present makes it almost easy to write a longer scene. You can also incorporate different points of view. You can jump around in different points of view even during your scene. Now, just make sure that the reader knows clearly whose eyes they're seeing through, whose head they're in the moment. So you don't want to confuse a reader. That wouldn't be helpful. It might make a longer scene, but it doesn't make a better scene. And I think that's a good point. Just because you write a longer scene doesn't mean it's better. Some of the best scenes are shorter. Some scenes probably work better when they're shorter, and other scenes probably work better when they're longer. So don't write long scenes just for the purpose of writing long scenes. Make sure that those longer scenes are meaningful and make sense in the overall arc of your story. So those are some of the ways that I write longer scenes. Let me know how you write longer scenes in the comments. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing, liking the video. There's going to be another video or 2 that come up right now on your screen. Check one of those out, and I'll see you in that next video. Thanks for watching.